This meeting is being recorded.
All right, everybody. Okay, so jumping in to this week's Torah portion, in many ways, elements of this week's Torah portion are foundational to all of Judaism because this is the Torah portion in which the Jewish people begin the process of the Exodus. Much of what is in this week's Torah portion is in later in the Haggadah, and including what we're going to highlight today. And we ultimately understand, as pointed out yesterday, that when God is talking to the Jewish people, he's not talking to the Jewish people back then, he's talking to all of us now. So we have to look at what we read in the Torah, both any Torah portion, but especially these, the events that are later highlighted in the Haggadah for us to teach our children in fulfilling a quadruplicate command from God, as we talked about. That these are very important instructions, messages, etc. Again, hesitating because, of course, everything in Torah is such, and by saying these words, I don't mean to imply less so about any other part of the Torah, but to a certain degree, it is often a little, I guess, let's call it more obvious how we are meant to draw from these Torah portions, because the Torah and Judaism tradition itself highlights that the tremendous focus on these passages. So, and we've talked about a little bit about this in the past, but we're going to revisit it. We have the license to do so because the Torah itself is the precedent. We revisit the story every year, so we can always revisit material, but we're going to go into a little bit of a deeper dive into it, which is that here Moshe Rabbeinu is being reassured by God after God wags the gentle finger of admonishment at Moshe Rabbeinu for, in a sense, losing a certain amount of trust and faith in him when facing the first challenge kind of out of the gate, right? He comes to Pharaoh. We said, let my people go, just as God said so. And Pharaoh is not a Pharaoh because he's a pushover. He's a master manipulator. And so what he does is he doesn't just tell Moshe, obviously, no, but he immediately works on undermining Moshe in the eyes of his own people, right? Best way to destroy a rebellion is have the rebellion turn on its own leaders. And so what he does is he obviously makes the work for the Jewish people significantly harder. And when the people come to complain, he says, don't blame me, blame Moshe. Moshe is here, and he's the one who has these delusions of grandeur, that it's all going to be whatever it is. You apparently have all this time. So that's why I say clearly, if you're not busy, busy enough that you have these ideas in mind, then you need more work. So they turn on Moshe. Moshe then turns on God, right? And Hashem tells Moshe, I at one point revealed myself to Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, never with the same caliber of revelation that I'm revealing to you. Ushmiya Yud Vavke lo nadati them. I did not give them the name Yud Vavke, and yet still they never really questioned me as much as you are currently questioning me. So, you know, as the Talmud tells us, Chaval al da'avdin v'lo mishtach. A pity for those that we've lost and we cannot find, which is the Torah's way of saying they don't make them like they used to. And as such, he has to set about reassuring Moshe. And he does so by telling him, don't worry, Pharaoh's going to reject. And it's not going to go smoothly. But eventually, והוצאתי אתכם מתחת סבלות מצרים, והצלתי אתכם מעבודתם, וגאלתי אתכם בזרוע נטויה ושבטים גדולים, ולקחתי אתכם לי לעם. And I will take you out from under the servitude of Egypt, and I will save you from their subjugations, and I will redeem you with an outstretched hand, and I will take you and make you a nation for me. Okay, this is the quote. Now, the Torah is exact in everything. We don't engage in repetitive synonyms. And if the Torah chooses four expressions, v'hotzeti, v'hitzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti, it's really, each one of them is its own message. We double down on this in Judaism because we also highlight all four expressions of, it says, v'hotzeti, and I will take you out, v'hitzalti, and I will save you, v'ga'alti, and I will redeem you, v'lakachti, and I will take you. Right? How do we highlight these four expressions on the Seder night? Go ahead, somebody say it.
By drinking 4 glasses of wine.
Very good, very good. Thank you, Sudi, and Paula. You were also pantomiming it. The 4 cups of wine that we have at the Seder. So clearly, we are saying l'chaim to God for each one of these expressions, because we're saying something. God Himself recognizes that one of these things is not enough. 2 of them is not enough. 3 of them is not enough. It has to be all 4. And we are thanking and acknowledging God for all 4. So importantly, as we've talked about, the Torah is not addressing our forefathers with this. The Torah is talking to us. And so in this, we need to see ourselves. So let's go through all 4 and say, what is it that each 4 represent? Why ultimately it's not enough, and what the next step of the process is, and how we see that in these expressions of the redemption. So starting, v'hotzeti. And I want everybody to be involved in this conversation. What does v'hotzeti mean?
To take out.
To take out. What does to take out? What is Hashem accomplishing with this first expression? What does He say? What is He promising? What is He contractually obligating Himself to with that one?
That the place where you're at right now, I will take you out of.
Right. Not only right, and the place by the place, also the status, the circumstance, the situation.
It didn't necessarily mean physical place.
Right, but correct. But in the physical, it means in there, and for all of us, it means the idea that what kind of place would be the common denominator if both the physical and kind of the mental, the philosophical? What is the place that God is promising to take?
Min HaMitzar.
What?
Min HaMitzar.
Right. Imprisonment. And whatever version of that is, you are imprisoned by a force that is holding you back. Right? And is incarcerating you. It is not allowing you, and Hashem promises it to take us out. Now, this is very crucial and necessary. Why? Because we have an expression, Ein chavush matir et atzmo. Somebody who is bound up cannot free themselves, even if they have the will and the desire. You cannot free yourself, right? Only Houdini was able to do that, right? And that was also because that was a trick and a strategy, right? So he wasn't really bound up. But somebody who's truly bound up cannot free themselves. This is a very important understanding. A lot of times you look at somebody and you say, help yourself. And the person says, I want to, but I can't. And there's truth to that. That's not the person just being one of these, just whatever. Had not a nice expression on, but one of these people that just is like sitting there waiting for everybody else to do the hard work for them, even about themselves. Rather, there's a truth to that. Sometimes you look at the situation and say, that seems like an easy situation to get yourself out of. Well, first of all, you're not that person. Second of all, it's a lot easier from the outside when you're not bound up, to think that it would be reasonable that you should be able to get yourself out. But somebody needs to come in. So God comes and says, "I'm going to take you out of this situation, from slavery in Egypt, be it slavery to your evil inclination, etc." First step is you got to bust out. You got to
You have
bust
to
out. I
what?
mean, that means bust out.
Uh-huh.
You need to, again, and in this case, for the most part, you need help, right? Outside help. So l'chaim to God for taking us this first stage, busting us out. Min hametzar, as Paula said, right? And we there's a role that the chavush also has to play. Min hametzar karatika, right? You need to call out to God. You need to want to go out, and that the only thing that's holding you back is your inability to free yourself. But if your issue is a different one, which is either that you will not acknowledge that you're in the Meitzar, or you know that you're in the Meitzar, in this imprisonment, but you choose to stay in it. You want to stay. You have no will to leave it. Then, to a certain degree, there's nothing we can do. First thing is minametza karatika. You need to call out to God and it says vayizaku b'nei Yisrael el Hashem, right? And then when the Jewish people cried out, then vayeda Elokim and vatal shavatam. Yes, Paula.
Question. I would have said 3 seconds ago, the first step is for us to try. If we are in this partnership, we have to try, realize we need help, cry out for help. Does crying out for help count as the trying?
Absolutely, yes, very much so.
Okay.
Well, let's put it this way: it's the first part of our half of the equation of that first step, right? The second half is then, which usually would come alongside. If you got the first half right, the second half will follow out automatically, which is that you take the steps also, right? To leave. But if you truly cried out and indicated your desire to want to, then when you get the help, you will grab the help and use it to pull yourself out. When the rope is dropped, as it were, you're going to grab the rope to pull yourself out. Now there are times that people don't, right? As that famous metaphor about the fellow who's drowning, and he is crying out to God, "Save me, save me!" And then when the boats come about, right, or the helicopter drops the rope. So you gotta, right, or like this is the other one about Maisha, go buy the lottery ticket. I'd love to help you, but buy the lottery ticket, right? I'd love to help you win the lottery, but you got to buy the ticket, right? But the bottom line is that yes, for the most part, yeah. You know what, Paula, you make a good point. We're going to talk about both sides of the effort here in each of these stages. Okay, but part number one is that to bust you out of the current circumstance, and I've busted you out. Now, immediately we can understand the great leap forward that this is in the process, right? Because when you're in the prison, you can't do anything. You're in the prison, you're stuck. This is a major step. But it's also very easy to see how this is only one step. Are you truly free at this point? Of Votzeti, and I took you out. Have you been saved yet?
No.
The answer is no, because that's the next expression. There's a deficit of Hatzalah. There's a deficit of being saved. Votzeti, I took you out from the circumstance. But what can very easily happen? Those forces that have imprisoned you are going to try very hard to schlep you back. Which is in fact what happened. Is Pesach over on the night of the Seder. You have the night of the Seder, which is the anniversary when God took us out, and that's all the story. That's all she wrote, as it were. No, because what happened in the original story? How long of a process was this to actually be free of Egypt?
210
It took,
years?
well, no, I mean to say not of the slavery, but of the freedom. They were freed. What happened? Why is Pesach 7 days biblically? Because it wasn't until 7 days later that the Jewish people actually truly free of Egypt. Why? What happened? Jewish people left. Well, what immediately? What did the Egyptians immediately do?
They ran after
Follow
us.
them.
They began to pursue them, right? They began to pursue them. You see, just by taking me out, you haven't addressed the problem that has imprisoned me in the first place. The forces, the negative forces that have schlepped me in are still there, and they're still going to be trying to schlep me in, right? This is something, this principle is so obvious. Recidivism rates in prisons, right? The old expression, I was just out and they pulled me back in, or whatever it is. And a person knows this, the old expression, may your tsaras last as long as your New Year's resolutions. Right? Because right, you make the resolution to be a good person. I'm gonna bust out of this habit, right? No. And then what happens? Yeah, you forgot that you had the cravings pulling you back in, that you had the impulses that imprisoned you in the first place. They're all alive and well, and they haven't changed their attitude. Right? They still want you in prison. And so they're going to chase after you. They're going to be in pursuit. So just taking somebody out is not saving them yet. And that's such an important thing when you're trying to help somebody to say, oh, busted you out, good, and I'll see you later, No. The fact is, this person has already demonstrated susceptibility to these very powerful forces. And until you address it, this person is still going to be susceptible, which means you may have taken them out, but you haven't saved them just yet. So while there is a l'chaim, thank you for saving me, for taking me out, because that's obviously the first and necessary step, but it's not a job well done yet. And there has to be the vihitzalti, right? There has to be some ability for you to not be threatened by these forces again, either because you've weakened those forces or you've strengthened the individual to the point where those forces no longer are a threat. Otherwise, it's out of the frying pan and maybe either into the fire or back into the frying pan a little bit later. So v'hotzeiti is not enough. There has to be vihitzalti. And that was when God took them to the Red Sea, right? The end of Pesach was the Red Sea. That was the fruition of Vihitzalti. Drowned the Egyptians in it, right? But again, Paula, who has to take the first step there?
The Israelites.
Right. Nachshon ben Aminadav has to take the step and to venture into a circumstance that scared them up until that point. Empowerment. You can do this.
Well, Nachshon thought so.
Nachshon, but then the people followed to their credit, right?
Absolutely.
So, and the people really were primed to do that because Lech teich acharai bamidbar. God says, follow me into a desert. And the people said, we're going.
Yeah.
To explore new frontiers where this thing doesn't have the same power over us. Can't pull us in as easily. Right? And we had to trust. So, v'hotzeiti v'hitzalti. But that's not the end. Because here's the thing. How many of you have watched Schindler's List?
Oh, God, so long ago.
There is a moment in... Say again?
When did that movie come out?
I don't know.
Okay.
But
So that the
there's
fact that I don't remember it isn't terrible because it's been a long time.
it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Okay.
But there is a very powerful moment in Schindler's List where, Oscar Schindler runs away after having just freed all the inmates of his camp slash factory. They're all sitting there, just kind of camped out. Then the one lone soldier, like Allied soldier, comes riding up on a horse, and I think Russian, comes riding up on a horse and says, "I freed you. You're hereby free. Right? I am liberating. I've liberated the camp. Right? Liberated you." And they all look around, and then the one who's kind of the leader of this cohort of Jews looks at this person and says, "What?" Famously, "We are free, but where do we go?" Right? Being free is not enough. We don't have a direction. Where do we go? You see, society fumbles this one perhaps more than it fumbles any other one. In our effort officially to try and make a society better, right? We understand that we cannot have menaces in society. And so we spend a lot of money on enforcement, regulation, and then if a person has been deemed a menace, incarceration and what we call correctional facilities. The Rebbe talked often that this is lacking something key. Society is failing itself, whatever our leaders are failing society. However, society is failing the population. That we spend so much money on correction and not enough money on direction or vocation. A person is susceptible to slipping into this place and becoming imprisoned. That you have to contend with it, etc., etc. Most oftentimes because they don't have a good direction or purpose, vocation, or what have you, that would never have allowed them to slip into this destructive nature to begin with. Idle hands, right? Idle mind, an idle heart, a lack of purpose and definition as to why I'm getting up in the morning, etc., means that if I don't have a definition for my life, then oftentimes it's not a status quo. It's not status quo. If I'm not walking forward in a positive direction, then I'm going to end up going in a negative direction. Viga'alti. God says, I'm not just going to save you, I'm going to redeem you. Because following on Pesach, process is not complete. So it wasn't just about the first night of the Seder, which was the first night of Pesach, which is the Vehut Seiti, where God took us out. Right? Oh, I stuck up my thumb, and now the computer decided I wanted to do a thumbs up. Well, it's not a bad thing, but either way, that's number one, right? That's the first night of the Seder. But there has to be all 7 days of the Seder because we have to contend with the Egyptians until on the seventh day of them leaving, which is obviously the anniversary of that is on the seventh day of Pesach, was actually the splitting of the sea and getting rid of the Egyptians once and for all. But what that means then is that you're at zero. So you're not in negative territory, and there's not an immediate threat that you'll go back into negative territory. But where is the definition and the direction. The moving into positive territory. The Rebbe said, could you imagine if do you realize that the only time society starts to pay attention to you is if you become a menace? If you're walking around aimlessly without a purpose, etc., society ignores you. A cry for help has to be that you do something violent or destructive for society to finally pay attention to you. That's wrong, says the Rebbe. You need to give people that which their soul craves more than anything else, a direction and a purpose, a raison d'etre. Or rather, they have a raison d'etre, you just got to tell it to them. Until then, they're not redeemed. And that is why what immediately begins from Pesach, the Sfirat HaOmer, the period of the year of self-growth, of climbing, of adding, of moving into positive territory, so that you can experience the Ga'alti. And I will redeem you. I will give you positive direction. You will become my project, says God. I will rehabilitate you. And part of rehabilitation is to give somebody a purpose. So the first two are focusing on getting out of the negative. And the third one shifts the focus to moving into the positive. With me so far? And obviously, who's got to do the count? Same thing. You have to not be ready to take the leap. You now have to be ready because, see, sometimes the leap of faith is easy. But it becomes difficult, the step-by-step methodical process of diet and exercise and self-refinement and all these things. And the spiritual version of that is obvious, to grow in your Judaism step by step. To not just not be fodder for the animal, for the evil inclination, but to become a positive and productive boon to yourself and to society, materially and spiritually. So let's say God says, I've committed to not only taking you out, but then to save you from the potential threats of the ones that had imprisoned you in the first place. And not only that, I have made you my project. I have redeemed you. Why is that not enough? What's missing?
The return, bringing.
Not yet.
Bringing back.
Not yet. No, you're 2 steps ahead, actually.
Okay.
Step number 4, we turn to God. We say, God, it's not good enough that we're your project. We want to be yours. We want to be yours, not just your project, yours. We want to be your nation, your people, bound to you with your Torah. We want to marry you. Right? Like the ultimate romantic tale, right? Freeze, right? Take us home. What?
Wrap tefillin and say the Ve'eres Tichlis. I'm just saying.
Right, exactly. But right, but and there's Paula. You don't have to wrap the physical tefillin for the Eres Tichli to be true, right? To a certain degree, we need to do this motion of 7 times around our arms because we never get to do that under the chuppah. The lady does that, so we get to, in a sense, that's us in channeling that feminine quality. Women have that innately, but the point being that we don't satisfy with being with just being one of God's projects. God didn't just take us out of Egypt and give us purpose because he wants his humanity, all aspects of his humanity to be productive. He didn't even want to just single us out to make us one nation so that we could be a shining example for the other nations, a light unto nations. He took us out because we are his. B'ni b'chari yisal ko amar Hashem. What was Moshe Rabbeinu's first words to Pharaoh? Or rather, Hashem said to Moshe, "Go tell these words to Pharaoh. So shall you say that so says God, B'ni b'chori Yisrael. The Jewish people are my firstborn. They're mine. They're not just another nation, or even the most exemplary nation. They are mine. V'lakachti otchem li la'am. And I will take them to be my nation. They will be mine." And that is the marriage. What day of the calendar? What comes on the other day of the 49 days of the Sfirat Omer? Shavuot. Shavuot, which is the day of marriage between God and the Jewish people. And the marriage contract, the Ketubah, the Torah. So Hashem, in this study, in this process, there's actually 4 steps. Number 1, bust us out of the circumstance, the prison. Number 2, save us from the threat of those forces, those negative forces. 3, teach us how to grow in the positive territory, away from Egypt. Every step is a step closer to the Holy Land, a step further from Egypt. But lastly, in something that is unique to us, the Jewish people, don't just make us your project, make us yours. And that is, it's interesting, V'lakachti means, and I will take you. In Hebrew, or rather when the Torah introduces the concept of marriage, what is the way the Torah says it? What is the expression the Torah says? Ki yikach ish isha, when a man will take a wife. The same expression, kicha, v'lakachti, ki yikach. Point being that Hashem took us and became betrothed to us married to us on the day of Shavuot, right? The end of this process. The first day of Pesach, then the 7th day of Pesach, then the Sfirat Omer, and then Shavuot. Hotzeiti, v'hitzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti. And we drink all 4 cups of wine because all of those, God held up his end of the bargain, and we say l'chaim. All those are crucial. Each one of them was crucial in their own way and has to be in that specific order. But those 4 are what defines the Jewish people. Except I see Paul with anticipation, because she's like, wait a minute. This is not the end of the story. There's another chapter to this book. Because there's another cup of wine. There's a 5th cup of wine because there's a 5th expression. A 5th expression. And a 5th expression, the very next verse says, Veheveti, and I will bring them. The first one is I will take them out. Right? The second one is, and I will save them. And the third one is, I will redeem them. And the 4th one is, I will take them to me. But then there's a 5th expression, and I will bring them. Now, what is this in the relationship? Well, it is not surprising that in talking, if we're already using language from the matrimony, if the Hashem is foreshadowing that he's going to marry the Jewish people, and he used one of the expressions, ki yikach, right? And you will take, right? Hashem took us for his bride, like the Torah says when a groom will take a woman for his, to be his bride. Then the Torah says, but the marriage is not complete until what? Consummation. When you will consummate the marriage. What is the Torah's expression for that? What's the Talmud's expression for that? What does it say that after Yitzchak was married to Rivka, what does it say he did? Vayivieha ha'ohela. And he brought her, right? How do we say in the Talmud, the consummation, the act of intimacy that happens on the wedding night? What do we call that in the Talmud? Bia,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're brought together, right?
Yeah.
What is the fifth expression?
Mashiach.
No, but what is the fifth expression when it says "Ve'hotzeti v'yitzalti v'galti v'lakachti"? What's the fifth expression? Veheveti.
Veheviti.
Veheveti.
Heveti.
Yes. Bia. God says, I will bring you the consummation of this. The consummation of this betrothal, of this marriage between God and the Jewish people. Now, why don't we drink the fifth cup? We pour it. The answer is because the other four happened. We can already say L'chaim on the first four. The fifth has yet to happen.
We're saying this is constant.
Correct. But all four stages have been achieved. The fifth one is the stage that we are working on. It has not been completed yet. That is why what do we call the fifth cup?
Kos Eliyahu.
Oshel Eliyahu. And what was Eliyahu? What are we waiting for Eliyahu to do?
Harbinger of the Mashiach.
Right, the herald. I would say the harbinger has a little bit of a negative connotation generally, but the herald of Mashiach.
Okay.
Herald of Mashiach, right? And that's what we do. We pour the fifth cup. It's not like we say we won't pour the fifth cup. We pour it with the anticipation that what? That at this Seder night we will get there. But when the night comes to close and we haven't, we say, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. It's coming. And then we pour the wine back. And we say we won't drink it until we have achieved it.
I don't know. I think those four expressions of redemption are much more dynamic. They didn't happen in the past. They're happening continually.
Without a doubt. And of course. No. Without a doubt. Of course. That's why we continue to drink it. If it happened once, they drink it once. You said the l'chaim already. Done. Why do we keep on drinking it? Because this has constantly happened. But that fifth level we have never yet achieved. It's not like we have achieved it. We are achieving it. It's not in the present tense. It's not in the past or the present. It's the same future tense that God spoke about it to Moshe. This has yet to be achieved. And so it is different than the other four. Most people don't even know this. But if you turn to the average person and say, wait a minute, there's 5 expressions of redemption. There's not 4. Most even religious Jews don't understand that we do pour a fifth cup for that fifth expression. And why is that fifth cup different than the other 4? If we're already pouring these cups, we should pour 5 cups, and we should drink all 5 cups. We should drink all of them in the same way. The point being that 4 of these stages have been unlocked, as it were, because it has been achieved once and it's currently being achieved.
That's a good way to put it.
The fifth one is we are still waiting for. The journey is not complete. You see, this is a key aspect of this. We sit down at the Seder and we march to this point. Perhaps this is the key point of the whole Seder night. That this is not a story of the past. This is our present. But most importantly, this is the future that we have been working forward toward since the very beginning. The journey is not complete. And it's not just because we currently walk the same journey and achieve the same redemptions. No, it's because we have yet to achieve the fullest redemption. We are still working on it. It's a work in progress. And that is why the Seder has very much a Mashiach. The whole Pesach, the last day of Pesach, is celebrating what's called Mashiach Suda. The Haftorah on the last day of Pesach is the Od Hayom Benov, the very famous Haftorah of Isaiah, but what it will be when Mashiach will come. It's not, none of these are accidental. None of this is just like, oh yeah, we have to throw some. This is very deliberate, a very deliberate process. So ultimately, all four of these expressions is something that we always work on. We are working on them regularly, and we are working on them so that this year we can actually jump to level 5 and achieve the Heveti.
Can I throw something in here?
Yes.
Okay. Howie often says that one of the big differences between us is how we think. Howie thinks like this. I think like this. For better or worse, in each case. I've been studying lately about the Shevet Levi, the tribe of Levi. Why is Levi different from Shimon? After all, they both did what they did to Shrem. And the answer, is it was Levi's integrity to the mission. The mission is the covenant of serving Hashem. Shimon was doing it for a lot of other reasons, which may or may not be justified. It doesn't matter. But Levi was doing it as he did everything in his tribal career to advance the mission, which does not allow for straying to the right or to the left. Here we are, now come back to what we were talking about in class for the past 40 minutes. I think that in order for the fifth cup to come to fruition, we have to recommit to this mission, a la Shevet Levi. After all, we're all a kingdom of priests.
Without a doubt, which is, again, that fervor toward this point is what drove the Rebbe every day of his tenure, as it were. They were all, and it's the reason that every Chabadnik's expression is Mashiach now. That's a mission statement. That is it's not only a prayer. It's us reaffirming the mission statement. Our job is Mashiach now. Every single moment to make it happen. And being clear on that is to understand also that God said from the outset, I didn't take you out of Egypt just so you could be comfortable. I took you out of Egypt in order so that we can begin our service to God. We begin our mission. And that mission doesn't end, or we can't call it a success until we've arrived at Veheveti, which means that, and again, that's kind of the whole Seder. We talk about it. We talk about all the gains that Hashem has made, that we have made, hold over door. We're saying L'chaim, it's all that. And then we say, but let's never lose focus what we are trying to accomplish. And we pour cup number 5. And it's not aspirational. It's not aspirational. It's not platitudinal or, in a sense, meant to be inspirational. Next year in Jerusalem and Eliyahu and Avi and I'll feel good, etc., etc. No. It's meant to be a reminder of that there is a 5th cup to drink. 1 cup is still left to be accomplished, and the acute sense of pouring it back into the bottle after the Seder is over is to really acknowledge, at least up until this moment, we have not achieved it, and the wine has to go back. But God willing, we will. And as you said, Paul, laser focus on our mission. I mean, each person has their own contribution to make.
Exactly.
And we don't let up. And that's my point. That you can say, well, look, I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have 4 steps. Right? I did. I'm not only out. I also have reduced the threat that I can play with, and I have purpose, and God has made me His own. What's left to do? What's left to do? What's left to do is achieve the happily ever after. Nobody's life ends at marriage. And the happily ever after we don't have yet. Right, everybody?
Yes. Thank you, Rabbi.
Sure. Shabbat Shalom. Let's go out and each
Shabbat
day ask
Shalom.
ourselves, how do we achieve the Heveti?
Thank you so
Good
much.
Good ending. Shabbat shalom lechulam.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.